Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. If you haven't joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network 3 years ago to elevate the profession of sales, to give salespeople and anybody who sells a place where they can hang out, network with each other, ask questions, get advice, get help, earn more. And if you've been with us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I either do a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales or a live training, usually an interview, because I love doing those. And today is no exception, my friends. Before I introduce today's guest, if you're watching us live, please say hello in the comments. If you're watching us live on Facebook but have not connected your account to StreamYard, it won't give us your name. It'll just say Facebook user, so please include your name. If you have any questions for today's guest, please put those in the comments and I'll pass them along as we're talking. And finally, if you're watching us on the replay, please put replay in the comments. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce, she's a keynote speaker, a results consultant, a highly successful author and a success coach, and a problem eliminator. I want to hear more about that. Please welcome Annie Meehan. Good morning, Annie.
I am Annie. Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Always love to help people and encourage people. So happy to be here this morning.
I'm glad that you are here, and I've got a bunch of questions for you. I've done my research, but let's start out with this. Could you just maybe give us the 2 or 3 minute version of your past, what brought you up to this point?
Yeah, really started speaking in the faith community and then bought my first gym and then my second gym. And so I did health and wellness. And then from there, just started branching out into the corporate world. And as people heard me, they're like, hey, can you kick off our conference? Hey, can you do a half-day training? Can you do a 3-day retreat? And then it's really evolved. So then I start writing workbooks and books and online courses. And mostly everything I do is because somebody asked for it. And so now my work, I lived in Minnesota for a long time. So I have a beautiful network up there. But I moved to Florida 2 years ago now. And so growing a great network down here, but travel all over the world, nationally and internationally to speak. What got me here, I want to inspire people. I want to help people know that they can sell themselves because we're all in sales and that they can be the best version of themselves. They can live an extraordinary life, no matter what they're going through, where they come from. All things are possible. And I love the work that I get to do. And so I just keep doing it and keep getting invited to do more. So
I love that. I know that you have a specialization. I think you work across industries, but you also have a specialization in the hospitality and education sectors. Why those two specifically?
Yeah. Well, education, I love people that educate at every level. And I've always thought of myself when I was younger, I thought I'll be a 3rd grade teacher. I loved my 3rd grade teacher. And so I was like, you have the ability to impact, right? To impact lives with your words, written and spoken. And because that's what I do is impact lives written and spoken, I like to go and pour into educators. So that's the first part of why I love that audience. I also love hospitality because someone called me a pineapple about 4 years ago. Then they taught me the poem. And then I said, everybody has a story behind their story. And this poem has a story behind it. So I took the poem and I turned it into a principle. And so now I invite people to be a pineapple person. And pineapple is the international symbol of hospitality. And so it's just this sign of welcome. So people that are in hospitality, every second of their day, they are serving another person through a smile, through a greeting, through all different ways of service. And my huge belief is we must take care of ourselves first so that we can serve people best. And so that's probably why I love hospitality. I love to travel, maybe part of it too, but yeah.
Got it. You mentioned pineapples. I know that you have a pineapple principle. And so why should we be a pineapple and what is the pineapple principle? By the way, I love pineapple, but tell me about that.
Awesome. You'll love them more then. The pineapple principle came because, like I said, someone called me, you're such a pineapple. And I was like, what does that mean? And she worked with kids and she said, Annie, don't you know the poem, stand up straight, wear a crown and be sweet on the inside? And I said, oh no, I've never heard of that before. But I always like to think part of me being the exception too, is I dig into what's the story behind the story. And so I thought that was a cute poem and I like it. I'm not really a cutesy speaker. I'm more like dive in and get into the real stuff so we can expand. And so I asked myself, what does that have to teach? And I thought about when we stand up straight, we literally look people in the eye in a world where we're mostly looking down at our phones, or I see you, Jeff, but then I'm looking behind you. Is there someone more exciting? And we've lost the art of looking people in the eye, of really seeing people. And so I thought, if we stand up straight, we see people. So I started living this out. And I do try to always go out of my way to acknowledge people, especially people that other people might overlook, whether that's a custodian or a cashier or barista, to really look at them and see them and slow down enough to inquire. And then I thought about the crown, and I'm like, well, if I do what I want every morning and get up and just sit around and eat donuts, that's not very valuing of myself. So if I wear a crown, then I value myself. I drink a glass of water, I go for a walk. And then I start thinking, what if I believe that I'm valuable? How would that show up in teaching other people that they're valuable too? And I was speaking at a conference once, and a man came up to me afterwards and he goes, I want to say something to you. And I wrote about this in the book. He says, my wife died 5 years ago and I buried her. And he said, you know what? The second she died, I died with her. I quit valuing myself. And therefore, I've been raising my kids as a dead person. And because of your message today, I'm going to start valuing myself so I can value my sons, so I can come back to life. And so that was really powerful to me, is that this crown is about value and the sweetness on the inside. If we are sweet on the inside, we don't sit behind our keyboard and write nasty messages on social media or text people or say things. We remember that our words have intention, and that if we live out that sweetness, we're going to be kind, encouraging, loving, supportive. Even if we're different, even if I don't agree with you, I can still choose to spread kindness. And so that's kind of the Pineapple of Love. And it became a book, it became a TED Talk, and people are like, I want to be a pineapple. I'm like, yes, it's a movement. Let's have 1 million pineapple people across the world. So.
Wow, I love that. It's so amazing how somebody can say something fairly innocuous, like Annie, you're a pineapple, and it changes your life and becomes a book. And my mentor in the speaking and training business, very early on after I met him, told me I was going to be very good at this because I'm weird. And you wouldn't think that was something that would, I mean, at the time I'm like, okay, I think my mentor just told me something good, but what does it mean? What he actually meant was that in most surveys, the number one fear that people have is speaking in front of an audience, followed by death and snakes, which means you'd rather be bit by a snake and die than speak in front of an audience, except people like you and me. We're weird, he said, because we love to do that. So it's funny how one word can make a difference. I love that. There's so much insanity in today's world, and it certainly affects business. How can we navigate disruption and not let it define us?
Yeah, great question. I think we have to, it definitely affects us, but it doesn't have to define us. And I think what we have to do is every day, I know a lot of people talk about gratitude, and I think that's really good, but I think generosity, like not only what am I grateful for, but how can I do something good or serve another in the midst of this disruption? So there's been so much disruption in the world and organizations and individuals' lives. And so I always think, don't let the hardest part of your life define you. So when I meet people, I'm always listening, I'm a noticer, and what do they lead with? Do they lead with like, I've been through a divorce, I've been diagnosed, or do they lead with like, let me tell you the great stuff. Let me tell you about what I've overcome and how much joy I have in my life. So I think not letting it define you is paying attention to the good, is shifting your perspective. I kind of jokingly but sincerely say I walk the beach every day. So I live it part-time on Fort Myers Beach since the hurricane, because we're still displaced. And it's really easy when I'm walking the beach. If I look to the right, there's debris, there's piles of garbage, there's a lot of sadness still. But if I look to the left, there's ocean waves. I've seen 3 rainbows over the ocean this week. I've seen 3 dolphins jumping. And so what are you going to focus on? So a way to not allow it to define us is to look for the good. What in the midst of this disruption, this challenge, where is there good? And another part is that there's amazing people. Like so many, I try to surround myself with positive people, not watch or listen to negative, but look for it. And if you can't find it, try to become it so you can be that for other people. So that's a big part of how focus, perspective, and what I do to serve other people.
Yeah, focus flows where our attention goes. And by the way, I also live at the beach. I'm a block away, and I live in New York. And after Superstorm Sandy, I had the same exact thing. To the left I was walking along the beach was the beautiful ocean, and to the right was devastation. I mean, it was just horrific. And it is really about what do you focus on. There is a ton of bad stuff going on in the world, and it's hard to avoid hearing about it because. As for me, I want to stay up to date and know what's going on, but it can be crushing. And we have to remember that there is good, and we have to be the good in the world. Yes?
Yes, 100%. I think also that glancing, I probably had I had a lot of meetings yesterday. I probably had 12 people bring up Maui to me. I don't particularly watch the news, but I do want to stay informed to an extent, but it cannot consume me. But then before I went to bed last night, I was just like, I just want to, say Maui and see what comes up and see what's going on. Just heartbreaking. So my heart and prayers go out to them. And Jeff, I mean, I visited Sandy on a mission trip to try and help restore Sandy. And the devastation that people ask me all the time, isn't it back to normal? And I'm like, no. And it's going to be a long time. And I think I'm not the most patient person. So I'm like, okay, how do I stay positive in the midst of this, knowing it's a journey? It's not like an overnight repair. This is not one small thing that happened. And as you know, a hurricane is so devastating, can be.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that, when you see it happening somewhere else or to somebody else, it's like, oh my God, that's terrible. And when it happens to you, it becomes very, very different. I remember when Sandy hit, and, in the aftermath, I was thinking, watching Katrina down in New Orleans, it's like, oh my God, that's terrible. But you really can't relate to it truly until you're in that situation, and it changes your perspective. I want to ask you about, I know you do corporate work. So many organizations are watching as their people are leaving in droves, and they're finding it very difficult to both recruit and retain top talent. Morale at many companies seems to be at an all-time low. What should companies be doing right now to transform their workplace into an environment where people can actually thrive and want to be there?
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of ideas. I think a number of years ago, we thought put in a pinball machine and everyone will be happy. We can play foosball on our lunch. And that's not really what we're hearing. And the feedback is, I want to know that I matter, and I want to know that my team knows me. I personally, which I know some listeners might disagree with, I really think we need to come back to the workplace at a minimum 2 days a week. I think when we are connected and we have that morning meeting and it's really intense, and then we click out a Zoom, we just go on. But if we're in the workplace, we go, and in the lunchroom, I go, hey, you know what, Jeff, I was thinking about what we talked about this morning. I have another idea. And those natural conversations happen, but also the connection. How was your weekend? How was your daughter? What's going on here? I think we have to be connected. We have to communicate. And I think it's true in all things, but in the workplace, being able to get people to want to stay at a job, they want to feel like they matter. And so when you were asking the question, what I had a vision of is like 5 to 7 people that become we check in once a week with each other, and we just check in, not necessarily on work stuff, but how are you? What's going on with the kids? Where'd you go on vacation? What was your favorite kind of ice cream this weekend? As human beings. And we aren't human doers, we're human beings. And I think when individuals feel like they have value in an organization, they want to stay. I know that money matters, but it is not the number one thing. Appreciation, connection, communication, feeling understood, from the top down, communicating when there's changes as soon as possible. We think something's happening. Here's what we know, we might merge. Because when the fear exists and we're so isolated, we have no emotional attachment to leaving. I mean, I'll just quit and get another job. They don't care about me. They don't even know me. They don't communicate. So retention happens when we're connected and we communicate. And to me, a minimum of 2 days, a minimum in the office together. And I love the fun events. It doesn't have to be a happy hour. It can be, a breakfast buffet, one time a month. It can be, I come from the financial world. We had a lot of food because we couldn't leave the floor because we were the trading. But those connections, those conversations that happen in the midst of an event or something fun, or food being there, and just a moment away from the doing, and remember we're a human being. So I think connection, communication leads to retention, people knowing they're valued, and talking beyond just what their task is into who they are as a human being.
Yeah, that's great. Good morning, Bruce from BGK Financial. Thank you for joining us this morning. You said something you said a lot of things that were very important just now, but it brings to mind that employers need to understand what's really important to their employees. And you're right. Look, money is important. Nobody goes to work because they love their job and they just want to give, and they don't care if they get paid or not. I mean, hopefully they do love their job and what they're doing, but we do go to work to earn money. I love helping people, but I certainly love getting paid for helping people. But it brings to mind, I used to be a recruiter. And one time I got a job offer for a lady at Dow Jones in New Jersey. She was earning $120,000 a year, and they offered $90,000 to her. And I said, guys, there's no way this woman's going to take a $30,000 cut in pay. You got to come up. And they said, we absolutely can't do it. Make the offer. She'll take it or she won't. So I called her up and said, look, we've got an offer from Dow Jones. I'm very sorry, but they're offering you $30,000 less than you're making now. You're making $120. They're offering $90. I'm very sorry. She goes, sorry, I want it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would you want it? Well,
Mm.
it turned out she was commuting an hour and a half to work each way currently, which is 3 hours out of her day. And the commute to Dow Jones was going to be 10 minutes. The quality of life for her was more important than the $30,000. So I think it's incumbent on employers to really understand what motivates their people and why they're there. It's not just about green pieces of paper. One of the things I always tell salespeople or sales managers is understand what's motivating your people. They're not coming to work for more green pieces of paper. They're coming to work for what the green pieces of paper can do for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just like you said, asking, like for me, that's what I envision is like, get a small group and ask, do a survey, but do it maybe more personally than just a survey monkey, and say, what's really important? What do you love about life? Because when we understand that, what are you philanthropic about? What organizations do you want to give to? When I worked for Piper, we painted houses for humanity. We delivered turkeys for low income. We did things where we cared about and we felt valued and heard, but also they were able to reach out to the community. So I love that, Jeff. I think there's a lot of values that we all have. Money is one, but it's not the only one. So
yeah, and I love what you just said. Ask. I mean, when I train sales managers how to be a sales manager, coach them, it's like talk to your people, find out what really motivates them. Susan wants to put an addition on her house. Bob wants to buy a new car. Billy wants to take his family on better vacation. I mean, we each have an internal motivation, and the best way to manage an employee and really motivate them is to know what's internally motivating them. I actually believe that nobody can motivate somebody else. You can only motivate yourself. Unless if you're a mafia hitman and people know you've killed others, you can get people to do stuff. But for the most part, people work on their own internal motivation. You seem to like fruit. What are some of the lessons from a banana?
Yeah, I'm going to show you just so you can see these because they're really little books, which I love that, like little reading. So pineapple came first that I was telling you, and then banana. The banana came because have you ever felt beaten down? Whoops, let me get, right? Beaten down. And when we're beaten down, we feel like, oh my gosh, I'm like a bruised banana. But I think there's two choices with the bruised banana. So when I would speak, I had a rather challenging upbringing, and I've overcome immense adversity personally, professionally, as a child, as an adult. And so people say, oh, you're like lemons to lemonade. And I was like, no, I don't resonate with that. I needed more than sugar and water to become who I am. And so I thought when you get bruised and beaten down in life, which any of us can feel during disruption or because our organization is struggling, a bruised banana, you have two choices. You can throw it away or you can take it and mix it with a whole bunch more ingredients to turn it into sweet banana bread. And I personally love making banana bread. My mother has a fat-free banana bread recipe, and we put butter on it and still call it fat-free. But what I talked about is what are your ingredients, So it's not just sugar and water, it's flour and baking soda and eggs. It's also not only all the ingredients that you need to make banana bread, but banana bread takes time and it takes sunshine. It takes heat, right? And so for me, I talked about movement and laughter are kind of my medicines that have kept my mental health in check. Is I walk every day and I love laughing. I love music. I love sunshine. And so I think of the banana bread as like putting it in the oven is like me going out in the sunshine, giving it time, whether it's half an hour or an hour to cook it, is giving yourself grace and time when you do have disruption to become the sweetness of banana bread. So I do plan to do a whole series of fruit books because people love them and they're like marketing for me, but they're also, hey, life lessons from a fruit basket. And instead of fruit, you get all these books. And I've already started 2 other books, but I have 1 book a year. 1 book a year is all I can do right now. So, yeah.
Well, Anna, you just made my heart full because my grandmother on my father's side, who I adored both my grandmothers, but anytime I would go to her house, there were always bananas that were going bad because she made the most delicious banana cake. I love banana bread too, but she made banana cake. I have to tell you this, it was 2 layers. Obviously there were, bananas in the cake. Then she would put sliced fresh bananas in between the 2 layers and everything was covered with chocolate frosting.
Oh my God. Are you going to make that? That's what I would like as a gift for being on your podcast. Can you send me that? That like sounds amazing to me. I'm like chocolate and bananas. So how could it get any better? So
grandma's long gone, so I can't do it. And I certainly don't know how to bake them. I just, all these years later, I still remember walking into her house and seeing that she had made a banana cake because she knew I loved it. It was like, oh, dinner's going to be great tonight. I don't even want the dinner. Let's just get to the dessert.
Love that. And I love that it brings a memory. Fruit are symbols. So people think of me, they're like, that pineapple lady that spoke to us, that banana lady, they remember you. It's a good symbol. And I'm just talking to Fresh Del Monte this week about doing some training with their team. And we were talking about bananas. Like everybody has a banana story, you know? And so I love that. Very sweet.
Absolutely. So many people seem to have an excuse for everything. How can we eliminate excuses?
You know, when I first started speaking 10 years ago professionally, 20 years ago publicly, my name, my business was No More Excuses for You. And it was that because I owned a gym and so many people would come in with excuses. It was also that because I grew up in extreme poverty. I didn't know how to read. I have dyslexia, ADHD. So people were betting against me. Don't go to college. Don't finish high school. You'll never amount to anything. And today I'm grateful that I get to do college commencements and high school commencements. But more than anything, what I say, Jeff, is I call it GSD. I'm starting a club called GSD. And what does that stand for, Jeff? Do you think? I try to say to people, I don't swear, so I can't say it, but it's get, you could say stuff done, or you could say another word. But there are so many excuses. I'm going to write a book someday. I'm going to start a business someday. Well, make your someday now. So how to eliminate excuses is to use that fuel. So I have a purpose formula and it goes, we all have pain in our life. So disruption, pain, whatever it is. So we have pain. Could be a messy desk, could be a divorce, could be a diagnosis or a hurricane or a bankruptcy or a takeover of our company or losing our job. Whatever that is, it's pain. Then it shows up in your body and it can make you like sick to your stomach or give you a headache or backache. But for me, what I think is that pain shows up in your body as energy. It shows up as fuel. And then you get to decide. So your pain plus that fuel, which is actually your passion. Passion can be good or bad, but that passion inside of you brings you to an equal sign. So pain plus passion equals. And the equals where we make a choice, Jeff. And, a lot of people say, but you don't know what happened to me. You don't know what I've gone through. And what they're doing is using their fuel to be there the rest of their life. They have an excuse. Why should I do anything? I have a sister that says to me, why are you nice to everyone? No one was ever nice to us. I'm like, who cares? It's more fun to be nice. But that equal sign is the choice. And if we choose to use whatever was painful for us as fuel, because we don't want anyone else to feel that, to become our purpose, well, it stops us from excuses. So excuses are about self-doubt and self-focus and lacking. For me, I live an abundant life. And so I think, what can I do with everything that's been hard? What do I do with that fuel that sits in my belly and makes me sick? Well, what I do is I write and I speak and I help one other person with their disruption. Because when I do that, I'm rewarded. When I do that and they have success, though I can't motivate them, they have to motivate. But if I can encourage them and hold them accountable and they do something they didn't think they could do, oh my gosh, that's why I do the work I do. It's so rewarding to watch an audience go, I am going to stop complaining. Holy cow, you've been through all this and you're still doing good stuff. I want to be more like that. And so I think excuses stop us from who we're created to be. And that is letting the disruption define us because we say, oh, you don't know. I only have, and I tell people I get 36 hours in a day. What do you get? Because they're like, how do you get everything done? I'm like, I get up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or sometimes 6, but I wake up early. I don't want, life is short. I've buried a lot of people young that I love and I want to savor, I want to squeeze the juice out of every moment. And so when I meet people full of excuses, especially if they hire me to coach them, I'll do it about 3 times. And then I'll say, you know what, you're wasting your money and my time. I want to work with people that want to be extraordinary, that say there's no excuse that will stop me. There'll be hard stuff and challenges, trust me, but keep going, relentlessly moving forward. So
yeah, I'm with you 1,000,000%. With my coaching clients, I let them know up front because part of what I do is I hold people accountable and I get them to make commitments, usually about prospecting in sales. And I tell them up front, look, if you break 2 promises to me, 2 commitments to me, I'm done. I don't need your money that badly. And I don't want to work with you unless you really want results. And I got to tell you, I love hearing how people were counting you out. You've got ADHD and whatever they said to you. I've been invited to do a speak talk this Wednesday. Speak is like TED, except TED's speeches, you get 10 or 15 different speakers speaking on different subjects. At a speak talk, everybody talks on the same subject that night. And the subject is laughter. And part of my talk is about all the teachers that told me I was not going to live up to my potential because I was the class clown. And part of the talk is actually, I'd like to go back and talk to every one of those teachers who said to me, do you think you're a funny young man? Because today the answer would be yes. Yes, I do. I do stand-up comedy. Yes, I am. I am funny. You've got a new book coming out, Choose to Soar. Congratulations first. What's that one about?
It's inspired by the hurricane. So we spent 22 hours in our storeroom as the hurricane tragically hit our home and shook it in a kind of way that you can't imagine unless you've survived a hurricane. And people right afterwards are like, this is going to be a great keynote for you. This is going to be, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought I was going to die. I really, really thought I was going to die. And it's interesting when you think you're going to die, what comes to mind? What do you think about? What do you remember? What do you want? And I remember really feeling like I was going to die and just being in this moment of like, I am so grateful. Like I have been blessed beyond measure. I live at the beach. This was a 30-year dream. I have 3 adult, beautiful children. My husband and I have a great marriage. Like I have this business that people reach out and want to hear more from me. So I've had a lot of gratitude. But as time passed and I was like, okay, I am going to use it for good, use everything that's hard for good. I started writing, how can I teach people that disruption can be literal like a hurricane, but it can be business and it can be personal. And so it's a 15-chapter book of like tools, like every chapter I do an analogy on storms because I like acronyms, sorry. I like to remember one word, and it starts with be still, be silent, and be sad. Be okay not being okay, and embracing that. Interestingly, people watch more of my live videos when I'm crying than when I'm doing great, about time, about staying open to lessons, about reliable relationships, a motivated mindset, and then about soaring above. So sometimes I meet people and they're like, I just survived this. And I'm like, I don't want to survive or be stuck or swim the rest of my life. I want to soar above my circumstances. And I do a choose letter twice a month. So I was like, choose to soar. So it was about making choices that in every challenge we get to decide, will it define us or will we rise above it? And so, it actually is going to be, I have my first book signing in August 24th in Minnesota. So it is going right now to, it's being uploaded. And so hopefully by the end of today, it will be available. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Very exciting. Congratulations.
Those people that said, don't go to college, you're illiterate. I'm like, let me see your book. Like your teacher's like, I want to go back to him and go, let me see your book. I've written 8, one won a national award. Like it's amazing what is possible.
I'm with you. I'm a college dropout, and I've written 2 books. Well, co-authored 2 books. I'm with you. And by the way, I like little books too. I have a little one called Leverage Your Laziness.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm feeding you this question. I actually agree with you, although it might sound like I don't. You suggest that we decide to have a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
Don't good days just show up? Either good or bad days just show up? And why would somebody choose to have a bad day? And if we do, what can we do about that?
Well, there's a reward in choosing to have a bad day. I mean, there's a reward. And when the payment, everything has a price and a reward to me, everything. So when the reward is you feel sorry for me and I get attention and I'm miserable and people want to, but being in a victim role never serves you long-term. It gets you stuck. But choosing in the midst of challenging circumstances, in the midst of hardship, to choose to have a good day, to choose to have a good attitude, to choose to be kinder to the person that isn't kind to you, that doesn't support you, but you still choose that brings me the reward. It is selfish in a way for me to choose to have a good day every day, but it is a rewarding greater than the reward of being a victim. And I had to learn that. I really spent the first 20 years of my life in depression from a lot of reasons. And then one day it was like, no, I'm done. I am just done. I had a child and I wanted to be an amazing mom. And I'm like, I am not going to show him that life is hard. I'm going to show him life is beautiful, even when it's hard. I'm going to show him that he can choose to have a good day and be on an adventure, even when he's lost or when things are challenging. And so I think it's absolutely a decision every day. And I think it's a decision you have to make. Like people like, how'd you get there? I'm like, well, I'm not there. I got to get up tomorrow and do it again and again. And I get rejected and do it again. And just do it again.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I believe everything is a choice. And my observation is so many people choose to live in what I call the muck. If only this, if only I had that, if only I was married to this. It's choose to be happy. My personal philosophy is I choose to be happy as often as I possibly can. I choose to laugh as much as I possibly can. And I choose to have fun as often as I possibly can. Not that my life is perfect, and I know yours isn't either, but to me, it's just a smarter choice. One of the things I go by is I don't want to walk out at lunchtime to cross the street to pick up a sandwich for lunch, get hit by a car, and have my final thought on this earth be, crap, I wasted my last morning on earth being pissed off about politics or something like that. And I am pissed off about politics half the time, but it's just I choose to let that go and just go, you know what, I'm gonna smile and have a good time and be happy and affect as many people positively as I can each and every day, and the rest is going to take care of itself.
And that's what I think, Jeff, since you brought up politics, because a lot of people will bring it up to me. My liberal friends think I'm too conservative. My conservative friends think I'm too liberal. And this is what I think. Politicians don't change my world. I do. And just like you, Jeff, you do. So I don't give a lot of weight to that. I think each individual person, if they all became pineapple people, we could change the whole world. Like we could have, so I give that power back to myself, I guess, and say, what will you do to make the world a better place, to improve your community, to do kindness, whatever it is. Like you have so much power. And I love that you say laughter, because I think laughter is great medicine. I owned gyms for 12 years. People are like, I need to lose weight. I'm like, really? Maybe you just need to laugh more. And then if you're happy, you won't want to eat a half gallon of ice cream, like change that perspective. And yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to do the whole talk right now, but laughter is a gift. A comedian friend of mine happened to be speaking with the late great Robin Williams. Yeah. And he gave this gentleman, his name is Greg Kettner. He's a very funny comedian, a dear friend. He told Greg is a comedian, and Robin Williams told Greg, keep doing what you're doing, Greg. Keep making people laugh, because you never know how you affect somebody else's life by giving them the gift of laughter. And it's part of why I'm a stand-up comedian.
I love that. And I love Robin Williams, and I do a lot of my work's mental. I'm considered communication and a mental wellness expert because I lost my brother to suicide. And I just have such a heart for people that suffer in silence. So that's why I never think, it's not an excuse to be depressed, but get the help you need to get out of that, because depression will steal your life. But there is so many resources, from movement to laughter to sunshine to medication to therapists. Don't let it define you or steal your life. So
yeah, I'm actually stunned recently at how many people are walking around depressed each and every day. I got into stand-up comedy 2 years ago, and so I meet a lot of comedians. It's shocking how many of these people get on stage and they're full of joy and laughter and they're making an audience laugh, but they are depressed as heck. I mean, you talk to them. Some of them come right, I'm depressed. I had a guy recently at a show. He said, how you doing? I'm doing better and better every day. I'm loving life. He goes, really? What's that like? And this is a comedian who got up and killed for a half an hour and gets off stage and depressed. People are around us each and every day. I think it's important we kind of stay aware of the people around us, especially the people that are important to us, and check in regularly to make sure they're okay, because not everybody is.
Not everybody's okay. And like I said, it's okay to not be okay for a period of time, but get the help. A lot of comedians deal with mental health and their own depression to bring that laughter. But I help people like shift out of yourself. Like, who have you served lately? What have you done? Because that can help us get out of depression. Can be so much thinking about ourselves and our circumstances. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's another word that I know you're very big on, and I am too, and I use it with my coaching clients constantly, and that word is commitment. Can you speak to a little bit about the importance and power of commitment?
Yeah. Well, for me, one of the big things I do with any clients that I'm working with is ask them what they want to get. Why are you paying me? What is the result? But then by when? I always start with the end in mind, right? Like, start with the end in mind. I need a date you're going to get it done by, and then we can work backwards. What do we need to do in the process? And so I think that commitment is kind of saying, yes, commitment's about taking a step every day. I always like to take the big picture and then bring it into small bite-sized pieces, but do something every day. So Sunday nights, one of my commitments that I like to live out is I make my list of my whole week, all my meetings on Sunday night. Obviously, sometimes they change and things are added, but commitment is about, I think it like just fuels you, right? Like, if people aren't committed to get something done or to do something, then they're just like, I don't know, I guess. And you use the word muck. I think I use the word like mediocre and mundane. And like, how do you get past that? Well, you commit to do something, small, medium, or large. Do something every day. Write something. Reach out to someone. Like you said, reach out to your friends. Do some networking, go laugh somewhere. I'm going to be a stand-up comedian someday. People think I'm really funny when I speak, but I'm nervous about that because I feel like it's a lot of pressure and we all have different senses of humor. But commitment, I always say 80% in, one step forward every single day, one step toward progress. And sometimes for people, when they are depressed, their only step forward is some sort of self-care, doing something for themselves, taking a walk, drinking water, having a salad, taking a shower, putting together their budget, having a date night, having fun with their kids, something that brings them joy in their life. So, yeah.
Any advice on what do we do when our commitment wavers? We start out, we've got this goal, we're committed, we're going full force, and then stuff happens.
Yeah. I think, Jeff, this is a answer for you and I, and what we do in our work is you need an accountability partner, and it can't be your best friend always, or your spouse, or your kids. You need to pay someone, because when you hire a coach like Jeff or I, and you start working with us, we're going to hold you accountable, and you're not going to want to pay for that. And we're not going to want you to pay for it unless you're showing up. So when you're starting to waver, get an accountability partner. I'm a huge believer in a great accountability partner, believes in you on your best and your worst day, and you show up anyway. You know what? You asked me to do this last week. I didn't get it done. Let's talk about it. Is it still important? Do we move it to next week, or do we let it go? So invest in yourself, invest in a great accountability partner, and make the money. Like, sometimes people say, I can't afford it. And I'll say, yes and no. You're going to spend that money going out to eat or drink or do something that isn't going to serve you. If you want success in your life, hire a coach. Get someone that believes in your success and cheers you on, that has a vested interest in you succeeding, because that's me doing a job well done as well as you, right? And so I really believe in investing in an accountability partner. And whether that's a personal trainer, a financial advisor, a book coach, a success coach, a sales coach, a transformation coach, what kind of coach do you need? And the other thing about hiring a coach is hire someone who's done what you want to do. So there's a lot of coaches out there like, oh, I can help you. And I'm like, have you done it? Because I want to know you did it. And when people come to me, they'll ask me, and I'll say, I'm so glad you asked. Like, I want to have success in a way that I'm telling you I can get you to. So a great accountability partner is worth investing in.
Yes. Yeah. And I love what you said about, if you're going to work with a coach, work with a coach that's done what you want to do. When our first child was about to be born, my now ex-wife and I went and interviewed pediatricians because we wanted to choose the best pediatrician possible. The very first guy we met with was grossly overweight and smoked cigarettes. That's not somebody who I want in helping my child with their health, or me and my wife helping our child with our wealth. So yes, hire somebody who's done what you do. I do disagree slightly. I don't think you have to pay for a coach as an accountability partner, although self-servingly, I always appreciate that. But I do agree completely. It can't be your family. It can't be a close friend, because they love you too much. If I called my mother, who's 93, and said, hey, Mom, I want to make a commitment to you, and I want you to hold me accountable. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to call you next week, and I want you to really give me a hard time if I don't, because I need that. If I called my mom next week and said, hey, Mom, I tried my best, but I didn't get it done, you know what she would say? That's okay, sweetheart. I know you tried your best.
Honey.
Yeah, she will not give me the kick in the ass that you sometimes need. Sometimes we all need somebody to go, no, it's not acceptable that you didn't keep your word. You got to go do it. Because we all, I don't want to grossly generalize. Many of us, we will slack off on ourselves. Like one of the things I often say is, I would rather break my arm than break my word to you, Annie. Mm-hmm. However, as disciplined as I believe I am, I'll break a commitment to myself way more easily than I'll break one to you. Hey, I'm going to start my diet tonight. Gee, I'd really like to have a big plate of Chinese food with white rice. I'll let myself go. But having somebody who will call you on your stuff, very, very powerful. Yeah. One of your previous books is Be the Exception, Your 7 Keys to Transformation. I've been on a transformational journey since a very, very young age. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of hours sitting in seminar rooms. So I'm very big on personal development transformation. How do you define transformation? And can you share some of the keys?
Yeah. I love that book so much. That's the one that won the national award, and it's available Kindle, Audible, and paperback. But the keys were, what happened was I was writing a book, and a publicist said, you should write a book. And I said, I'm writing Dumpster to Dynasty. And it was about growing up in a physical, financial, and emotional dumpster. So I grew up in a hoarder house. We ate out of dumpsters. We were so poor. I'm in the middle of 7 kids, and emotional. So a lot of sadness, depression, darkness, anger. And so she said, well, don't write that. And I said, well, why not? And she said, Annie, you're a teacher. Teach us. How did you get from there to here? What did you do? And I was like, I don't know. And she said, well, figure it out and write it down. And that will help way more people than you just telling your memoir. And so the first key is be honest. And really, it's the foundation. And people are like, I don't lie. And I said, yeah, but you tell stories every day, some out loud and even more in the back of your head. And if those stories do not serve you, if they're not, I am extraordinary, I can do anything, I can become anything, I can be hired by anyone. If they are not positive, life-giving belief stories, then they will not serve you. And so I say, but inside of stories, so I always thought I was stupid. That was one of my first stories that I looked back and discovered I was stupid. I didn't know how to read. So inside of every story, there's a partial truth. So the truth was, I didn't know how to read, and I did have a learning difference, but it didn't mean I was dumb. It just meant I learned differently. And so how to be strategic and smart and strong and wise without a traditional path. So that's the first one. Be honest. It's about rewriting the stories that no longer serve you. Then be open is really about mentorship. Who has mentored you? What did they teach you? How did it make you feel? But then how are you using it to serve others? I always go back to how are we serving? Then be healthy. We think about 7 areas of health. Be flexible, which is about change and adapting with an open mind. Be courageous about setting goals beyond ourselves. Be gentle. So a lot of people judge themselves for disruptions in their life, personally and professionally, things that didn't work out. And the final one's really about be authentic. So first knowing who you are, but then showing up with all of who you are. And actually, Jeff, for those that are watching this live, today only till midnight, that book, Be the Exception, what came out in 2016, is free. Just for today. So on Kindle, if you find it, I kind of haven't told friends and family. I was just more doing it for a business strategy that I'm working on. So, but if you're listening now and you want to download, a lot of people use it as speakers, as how I structured it is a great way for a speaker to write a book. And that book alone, when I pass it out, will get me hired. Like people are like, like, you're kind of amazing. Like, I want you to come speak to our people. And so it's been a great tool for me, but it's been a great gift to give the world some of my wisdom. So.
Love that. And by the way, of all the hours I spent in seminar rooms and all the money I spent with them, and I learned something each and every time. I never went to something like that where I didn't get anything out of it. My greatest transformation came when I found the most incredible coach. She made such a difference in my life, and she's an amazing individual. I'm very blessed that she came into my life. And one of the funniest things is, when I was talking to her about her being my coach, she goes, look, if you're coming to me to make more money, don't come to me to make more money. I don't help people make more money. I help you be the best version of yourself. But everybody who comes to me does make more money. And that is what happened.
100%. It's like the people I say, I never helped anybody lose weight at my gym. I work with thousands of clients, but I helped them change their mindset and their habits. And naturally they lost weight because they liked themselves and their lives better. So yes, I love it. She sounds like a great coach. I'd like to say it's me, but it's not. So
you'd be second. Okay. She's incredible. You say there's great power in the word yet, Y-E-T. What's the power of yet?
So powerful. Well, especially when I first start working with clients and they're like, oh, I've never written a book. I've never lost weight. I've never gotten the promotion. I've never started a business. And I just say, yet. You've never written a book yet. You've never started a business yet. I said, when you add yet, it means all things are possible. If we believe that where we are, let's glance back. I always say, don't look back, glance back and then move forward, always moving forward. We're always thinking about yet. What else do I want to do? What else could I accomplish? Who do I want to be? What does the best version of myself look like? Or I say, be the exception, be different than what you've believed to this point or what you've done to this point, that all things are possible beyond this point. So.
Got it. I hope that I'm not touching a raw nerve here, but a while back you posted about losing your best friend and about dogs being man's best friend. I could not agree more. I believe that dogs are truly the best thing on the planet Earth, the best. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, I'm not going to cry. You know what's funny? Not funny, but
I'm tearing up just because I saw the post.
My sister passed away 2 months before the hurricane hit us. So July 28th was a year that she had passed away from addiction. And he literally popped up on my phone. Like, he was not my picture. And my whole screen changed to him in black and white. And I had never had a dog before. My husband, I never had a dog. We were kind of like, neither our parents did. It wasn't functional for me. And his family thought they belonged outside. And we got this peanut and he was at a humane society, 10 months old. He had already been placed there twice. He was 1 day away from being euthanized. And I'm allergic to dogs. So I go there and I'm like, I'd like to get a dog and try it out. I'm allergic. She's like, this is not Target. You don't return it if it, like, they are beings. And he looked up at me like, you are going to take me home. And I go, he needs me. And I call my husband. I go, hey, I'm at the Humane Society. I'm going to pick up a dog. He's like, when did we ever talk about getting a dog? I'm like, well, we didn't, but I read this article about anxiety. It's good to have a dog in the house. So that was 14 years ago. And Peanut just grew in our heart. We do have Leo as well, but Leo's different. Peanut loved me. Like, he had to sit behind me. If we were on this call right now, he would be sitting behind me, and he was always at my feet or with me. And he likes my husband a lot, but he loved me. And if anyone came close to me, he'd just growl. And so, yeah, they love you so unconditionally. Like, that's what we learned, both my husband and I, is that, as much as you might love your spouse or love your kids, we are moody human beings and we have bad days. But I can be grumpy. I can be neglectful to him because I was busy in meetings, and he was still so loyal and so loving. And in the end, he was so dependent on us. We had a stroller for him. He was blind in both eyes and having glaucoma and cataracts. And the doctor said it's like a migraine shooting through his eyeball. But he got cancer as well. And so I just prayed he would die in his sleep, but he didn't. And so that was really hard. Like, I couldn't scroll. When we had Peanut, if someone posted about their dog, some like having to put it, I just scroll past because I couldn't even think. I would like, oh, he's my buddy. Like, and also for me growing up, not really having that unconditional love, my parents weren't able to give that to me. Having him taught me so much. You are going to make me cry. You taught me so much about really what is actual unconditional love. It's love on your best day and your worst day. It's love when you show up, when you don't show up. It's love when you serve them the best food or you forget to feed them. It is just always, always there and loyal and loving. And I think that was a gift that Greg and I both learned, is like, a love of a dog is very different than a human love. It's so, and unless you have one, just like unless you go through a hurricane, you don't know until you know. And so, yeah. Anyway, that was Peanut Butter, my boss, my black and white. And now he still have Leo, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, we were his third owner in his first year. So he had a lot of abandonment stuff. He was very attached to me, but so hard to say goodbye to him.
Yeah. I know you're a person of faith, and dog spelled backwards is
faith. What? What is
dog spelled backwards? Is
oh, yes, right. Yes. I can't even think. I'm like, faith. Oh, dog, God, right? Like, it is like God sends that little. And just when he popped up on my phone on July 28th, I was like, okay, Peanut, thank you. And he's like, your sister's okay. I'm okay. We're at peace. We're not in pain anymore. So,
yeah. I often say I don't like a lot of people, but I love all dogs.
Right?
And there's an old joke about dogs. If you want to see who loves you more, lock your wife and your dog in a trunk and take them for a drive in an hour. When you open the trunk, see whose tail is wagging.
That is a funny and probably very accurate joke, right? Oh my gosh, I like it.
You say, well, there's an old saying that time heals all wounds, but you suggest that time lessens the pain so that the wounds can heal. What should we know about our healing journey, and how do we let go with love?
Great question. I think, just even that, like thinking about Peanut, I think that time lessens, but it doesn't heal. So I've buried a brother and a sister now, and a dog, and you learn that journey. So when I speak to audiences, people will come up, in particular parents that have buried a child, and they'll say to me, Annie, like, my friends want me to get over it. They don't want me to talk about it anymore, but I'm not done. What do you think? And I said, well, first of all, what I think is nobody else gets to tell us about our grief journey. And I think we can feel healed and moved on, and something will come back and it will trigger or remind us. And that's what I mean about it can lessen it. But when you truly love someone and lose them, it's always a part of you, right? Like, it's always in you, that loss. And sometimes for people, it's a loss of a job. It's a loss of a neighborhood. It's a loss of a friend, loss of a community. There's a lot of different kinds of losses. But I think that time heals you in the way that it gives you new gifts and new love and new blessings in your life. But I do think that nobody gets to tell you that you should be done or what your time. I also think it can be short for people. I've met widows who say, I'm kind of ready to date, but everyone's judging me. But my spouse had been sick for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, nobody gets to say that you need this amount of time, and nobody gets to say you should be done or why are you done? we're all on our own journey. And I think time lessens, and definitely losing my brother, there were years of devastation. And then it was like, I got to live twice for him instead of being dead in my own life. I've got to live a better life for him because he never got to. So,
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. My sister, who lives in Las Vegas, had to put her dog down. I think it's about 6 months ago, and having done it twice myself, it's devastating. But time does it. I still miss both of those dogs every day, and sometimes I still cry about either one of them because you get that moment where it's like it's almost like you feel that they're there, but it does get easier over time. It makes it easier to go through. Um, what's the difference between being strong and being tough?
mhm. Tough is like people, that's what I mean about that pain, is sometimes it turns people tough and they become bitter and negative. I think tough is like um, resistant, like you got walls around you and I'm never going to love again. I'm never going to try again. That didn't work for me. I give up, or people weren't nice to me. I'm going to be mean. I think that's tough. I think strong comes from within. It is resilience. It's strength within. It's like, I'm going to be strong because I'm going to survive this and I'm going to not let it define me. But in that strength, there can be sadness. In that strength is more grace and sadness and real, raw, authentic emotion without toughness that kind of pushes you away. But strength says, I will receive this hug and acknowledge that I'm strong, but I still need support. I'm strong, but I'm still sad. I think strong people, I love being around real, strong people that have been through a lot, but they're not bitter. They've been through a lot, but they're not angry or unloving or unkind. They're still generous in spirit and generous in mind and generous in reality. And so I think strong people are quite beautiful to be around. They've been through a lot, but they're not letting it define them. Yeah.
Got it. You mentioned that you were a gym owner. I think you owned a gym for like 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Besides having a great body, which most people would like, what are some of the other ways we should be healthy? And what are some of your tips for being healthy in those ways?
Yeah, I really think of health as 7 areas. So your physical is usually what most people think of. So physical, emotional, mental, financial, spiritual, relational, and career health. So when I work with clients, I'm always assessing first before we address, right? And so some of the tips is first assess. Like people will be, I need to get healthy. Oh, I'm going to lose weight. That's the first thing they think. And I'm like, well, let's slow down and talk about it. Oh, what's going on with you? Oh, I eat a bag of chips every night because I got 12 maxed out credit cards. Okay, maybe it's your financial health we need to deal with. Or I have severe anxiety. I'm trying to manage my kids and my company and my this and my that. And I'm like, wait a minute. You need some faith. You need a spiritual health to realize you're not in charge of everything. So whatever that spiritual health is for you, spending some time in it, not feeling like you're in control of everybody or everything. And so I think first that's assessing, where are we at, measuring, and then taking a look at not what do you think you need to do, but what wakes you up in the middle of the night and what gets you off track. So I think getting your finances in order is huge for people. I think having healthy relationships, I say that everybody's a Winnie the Pooh character. So if you got too many Eeyores, or if you don't have any Eeyores, you might be the Eeyore. And if you have too many Eeyores, that's going to bring you down. So you need some Tiggers and some Poos and some rabbits in your life. And so rather than talking about disc assessment, which I am very familiar and teach sometimes strength finders, let's think about Winnie the Pooh. It's visual. I love to give people visual ways to think and think about what are those relationships. And in marriage, as you said, you're divorced. Many people feel like I got to get divorced. And I always say, what happened first? Or they'll say, we had financial problems. Where did you disconnect? So I do something called wine at 9. And I'm not encouraging people to drink that shouldn't drink, but wine at 9 means no TV, no computers, no phones, face to face, not side to side, and reconnect. Wine at 9. It doesn't have to be 9 if you're getting old and you go to bed earlier, but it's an easy way to remember. I've always tried to give you tips that are easy to remember. Wine at 9, connection, one-on-one dates with each of your kids. I think you and I talked about traveling with our children is just so much fun. And so if you want great relationships, if you want to be healthy in your career, in your relationships, then you have to be intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. Like, what are you willing to do? And it's not always meet people 50-50. Sometimes you got to give 80 or 100. And that other person hopefully will come back at some point and it will be more balanced. But intentional choices, again, in all 7 areas.
Got it. I don't drink wine, so I'm going to go with tequila at 3.
Okay, there you go.
I like to get started a little early.
But you got to do it with somebody, Jeff. The whole point is the conversation. It's not about the wine, and it's not about winding. It's about unwinding. So
Well, for me, my dog is always with me.
awesome. I love that.
Yeah. A while back, you posted something that I found interesting. I mean, a lot of things were interesting, but you said that the main reason that we receive money is to give it away. Can you please talk about the joy and generosity?
I am wild when it comes to money. I'm a good thing my husband's in the other office. Like, I love giving it away. I love giving away money so much better than even getting money. And when I was 23, I got my first big bonus. I was working for a financial institute on the trading floor, and I got a $2,500 bonus. And at the time, I was a single mom. I was broke. But I did feel like I should give some of it away. So I thought about it for a little bit. I went home that night and I was like, I should give some away. And I always parked 8 blocks away because it was only $3. So I'd walk past this homeless shelter where people would stand outside in a line. And I felt like God told me, you know what? I want you to give it all away. And I was like, oh, I need the money. Like, I had just bought a house. I was a single mom, whatever. He said, no, I want you to give it all away. So I went to the bank with this check, the biggest check I'd ever received in my life. And I cashed it for $50 bills. And I got little red envelopes and I put them in, and we walked along. I called a girlfriend who was also a single mom. Neither one of us had any money. This is kind of crazy, but I'm telling you what, Jeff, it brings me so much joy and so much blessing. I called her. I said, meet me in this parking lot. She said, what are we going to do? I said, just show up. I gave her 25 envelopes. I took 25. I said, let's pass them out. I didn't even tell her initially what was in the envelope. I said, just some money. Just let's pass it out. She didn't know if it was $5. We passed it all out, and a woman chased me down the street crying and said, I prayed this morning. I have 3 little boys and no money. They got holes in their shoes and school's going to start. And because of you today, I can go buy my 3 boys shoes and McDonald's. And that was many years ago. I'm a little bit older than 23. But in that, what I realized is that I love to receive. I love to get gifts and money and all that good stuff. But there is something amazing, even better than receiving. And to me, that is giving. So this year, people have been generous to me since the hurricane have hit. And I'm so grateful. But it's much harder for me to receive than to give. And so every day I try to find someone to give. I buy random meals for people at restaurants. I give to different charities. I was at a dinner this week and I brought in some books and I said, I just want to give these to you because they were looking for gifts, but they didn't ask. They just said, we like to give away things. They're like, you don't have to do that. I said, I know I want it. They're like, really? Do you want us to pay? I was like, no, it brings me joy to give. And that's what I think sometimes people are so afraid that we live like, oh, I got $20, Jeff. I only got 20. I'm holding on to it so tight. But what I know about holding on to it tight is if you're not open, you also can't receive. And so as I give, I keep my hands open. So I receive and I give. And pretty much every time I receive, I am able to give in one way or another, whether it's getting paid or a gift to me. I try to multiply it and pass it on. And it does bring me immense joy. And I really feel privileged that I'm in a place in my life where I can give something. Maybe I can't give as much as I can because there's a lot going on in our own restoring, but I think it's great joy. And if you're a listener and you're not a giver, just give it a try. Like, go buy someone's coffee, the person behind you, or go, do a drive-through difference, they call it, where you buy the people behind you and they just like, do you know them? And not only is it cool for the person that's receiving, but like the cashier, when I do that now, like, I want to pick up their meal. They're like, do you know them? No. And sometimes they're like, really? Or giving a really generous tip to a great server. Like, just when I was a waitress, which I have done a lot of jobs, I'd get $100 tips. And I was just thinking, it's so kind, like, just surprise me, especially as a single mom, just those little moments in my life. And so many have given to me, but it is immense joy for me to give to others. So yeah.
I love that. And clearly that story that you mentioned a moment ago happened a long time ago. If she could buy 3 pairs of shoes and McDonald's for 3 kids, that was quite a while ago. And we've run out of time. Can you please tell people how can they reach you if they're interested in working with you or want to buy your books or anything like that?
Yeah, pretty much Annie Meehan is my website, my LinkedIn, whatever, wherever you're looking for me, you can find me. And YouTube, I try to do a video a day on YouTube because I love to speak into people's hearts and minds.
Got it. Well, thank you for speaking to us today. I appreciate you generously sharing your brilliance with us. And I'll end this as I always do. Guys, please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Annie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.